But you need to know something as specific as you have a very active market. In textiles, you don't have as active a market on certain areas. Men and boys shirts, or women and girls, that's the way they categorize it, women and girls dresses, or something like that. I would tell you, you need to know your competitors, because they're going to look at every entrance into the market and scrutinize it. They're very tight. It's a smaller and smaller group. But the same is true about the fisheries, specifically on shrimp. They're very tight knit. They know what's going on. If someone here had honey, that's another industry. They're very tight knit. There's certain industries, based on the work that I was doing for 10 years, where they keep an eye on products that are coming in and the prices. Steel is one of them. I think a lot of people who are involved in steel in other countries would not have positive terms necessarily for the U.S. domestic steel industry. Right now, the U.S. domestic steel industry, the owners are foreign. It's undergone some substantial changes, but they're very, very active. That's not to tell you not to go into the market. They're willing to play some very serious hard ball, very serious. And on luggage, it's there, they're active, but not quite the same way. There's so many niches. It depends on what you decide to do. The sesame oil, I haven't seen much activity at all. In fact, it's probably room because it's just not produced there. So you're seeing higher shipments. If we had Ms. Porpana here, AGC, when you talk about shea butter, everybody's putting it in their products at this point. They're just trying to get it on the shelf. So again, that's why you can see imports shoot up 660% in 1 year, because everyone's trying to get it on their shelves, in their product, lip balm, you name it, baby products, whatever it is, they're trying to come up with healthy alternatives. Okay.
Expectation. I wanted a situation whereby AGOA was going to help in making it possible to just ship our products down to the US and to create markets and all. But I realized a couple of things I spoke together. There's a lot of homework that we have to do. Not just using packaging and sending it across. And yeah, and I've taken time out to actually speak to some people. I've introduced them to my boss, and they've it all boils down to the same thing. The label. Yes, it's okay, but there's something that you're not just cutting out breast. You're not. Yeah, you can see, we can understand what some of us have an understanding of what, but it's the general market right now. Who are you speaking to? What are you telling them? They need to know. And from the feedback I'm getting from her, people that have spoken to her, she understands it too. She's coming to realize that yes, there's a lot of homework now that needs to be done. Everybody, all hands on deck. Everybody now needs to understand if there's going to be a brand manager, if there's going to be accounting for the pricing, everything now has to take its check. So when we make a checklist and we tick it off as as it gets better, we now realize that okay, there's certain things that should be and certain things that shouldn't be. Certification and all that. And speaking with you has made it a lot easier because we would have just probably paid the duties, do everything and just send it over there. I spoke to someone that is into marketing in the UK. There's market for Tesco. Tesco doesn't have it. And Tesco is like the biggest supermarket.
Really?
Yeah. They don't have at all. So the person that was programming, the second thing we have to do, that second thing we have to do is to cut down on the price.
Okay.
And I think we spoke the other time concerning the price, and the pricing, that because of the duties that we paid and all that there will be a problem with the price. So we should watch the price.
Yes.
And reduce the bottle and the label.
Okay.
That it's easier when people see things that's
Right.
big
And you come out.
yeah, that it's better when it's smaller. It's it. So and all that I realized with the training and everything and certifications, yes, the rules, the people who have to go. Those that recognize NAFDAC and those that don't, and how possible it is we're going to have to make an understanding so they realize certain things that we haven't and know their level of the things they are looking out for. So if we
understand that because with back, I was looking at the sesame oil cold press, and as I said, when we did the search just on the import statistics, you're seeing hot pressed is coming in. And I think even in the US, people don't realize, if you don't know the difference, it's gonna make a huge difference if you think, for those people who think they're eating healthy
Exactly.
and they're getting all these vitamins, one of the things I like is in fact put the vitamin content. Some educating to do on what cold press means until people understand, okay, cold press retains the vitamins, hot press doesn't. See, right now, the only places where you can find that kind of information is if you keep digging and digging, and you go to a specialty store, Whole Foods, where they'll make the distinction clear immediately. Whole Foods will say, these are all our cold press. I'm not even sure whether they're stocking hot press because of their standards. Yesterday, while research was being conducted, AGC discovered that in Whole Food stores, and this is supposed to be a large chain healthy food, they are starting to sort of brand products that do not have certain chemicals included, are not animal tested, have certain properties. Well, lo and behold, her product fits right in there. She thought it was in good. It's actually superior by their own standards. And the same thing with cold press. If you look at Whole Foods, they'll know the difference. The larger chains, they may not. They may not. They're just trying to sell whatever. They're not focused on that niche. And some of the big chains are actually dropping organic lines because they're afraid that they are not profitable. I know we had talked about if you do plantain chips, if you do cassava, you do chips, that sort of thing, what are the oils that you're going to use? You're starting out, and one of the things I really much more difficult. And as we kept talking, I'm looking and I'm thinking, I know the companies that would need to use it. The companies that may want to do any sort of joint venture partnering, who may want to do direct supply, they cut out the middleman, just go right there. They may not have the means to find out the information. Yes, they can hire Dun and Bradstreet. If Dun and Bradstreet is down here, that's great. If Dun and Bradstreet is just calling someone, that's not so good. Especially not after talking to you about the state of the system and where it is, whether it's hard copy paper or it's fully electronic. If it's fully electronic, great, but you offer other services. So with you, in your business, there's a huge niche that's sitting, waiting for someone to step forward, to put up that banner that says we can provide. And it may be that no one's even thought of it. South African Trade Hub, someone has. Yeah. And there's more. I mean, we just identified one small area. There's probably more. We just have not touched upon it. So that the business sector realizes it's very serious here. There is business here. There is information. There's a way to get that information. Okay. Did you, Abimula? At the end of the day, the purpose of the training session is to make sure you all are equipped to go out and do the work that needs to be done, because you're going to be the ones doing it. From explaining to your management how to expand the workforce and what sort of plans they needed to put in place to building your own business. And building your business in a way. At the end of the day, what we've talked about is the reason for you going into exporting. And as Ujoma said, you thought you're ready to just send your product and go, but it's more than that. It's the commitment to not just sending a product to see if it works, but also committing resources to a long-term plan, okay? If you haven't committed to a long-term plan, then the question has to be, what are you in this for? Because it does take a long-term plan. It's not going to be short and quick. You might get one export out, but are you talking about one, or are you talking about multiple pieces going out? Okay? Are you talking about expanding to the point that you have a business so that when AGOA goes away, it doesn't matter to you? There's a document we handed out earlier this week. It's in your booklets, and it says, are you export ready? One of the questions is, what happens when AGOA ends? Do you need AGOA to move forward? Now, hopefully, if you've done all your homework, the answer is no. Of course not. Of course not. Because you've established a foothold in a new market. It's a strong foothold. You're competitive. No. You shouldn't. But those are the questions. You can't do that if you haven't really committed either the management resources, the financial resources, the planning, the long-term planning that will go into it. Now, at the end of this piece, this document, and you'll find, it's on page 5. I took a little bit out of everybody's company. The product is shea butter, okay? What you're going to have to do. Larger companies go through this process all the time. They just say, it's the marketing division, and it's, if it's like United Fisheries, I'm assuming they're going to have, this division is handling this product to this region. This division handles X. As you're growing, it doesn't mean that you don't do that. You may have a smaller staff, but it's the resources you will commit. It's easy. I've already heard you talking about training your forces so that they are ready to do this. Juma, with Sunny, you're already talking about training your people so that when you're not there, this process continues. Otherwise, you have to be there 24 hours a day, Mhm.
It's not going to be accepted in the American market. So we're going to do a little more research into how we can package and label our products
Right.
for the export market. And that's why in one of my recommendations that I'm going to roll out to the management, in addition to the AGOA resource person that I am now,
Right.
we need an export manager. I'm going to recommend to my management that we should hire an export manager that can work more closely with whoever our agent is going to be
Mhm.
to move this business a little bit faster.
Okay. That's critical. Speed to the market.
Sorry, I have something to ask you now. Like,
Mhm.
for its benefit and for everybody here as well. AGOA, I guess we know, has to do with us exporting to the US basically. But I also appreciate if every one of us should realize that we can also spread our tentacles to every other country. It's not the US only.
No.
There are various. The European market is as inviting as the US market as well.
Sometimes more stuff.
Exactly. And for he suggested having an export manager. The export manager should be able to interpret and understand everything that has to do with customs. The rules should have a follow up, should always be at head with them. So if there's a decision, a bulletin, an announcement, he should be the first to know and like send like a memo out to the company. So everybody should also be an alert. So that's basically
That's critical because unfortunately, tell your importers specifically what's going on. Which is why you're posting and putting the job on your importer, the exporters, brokers, retailers. Go look for yourself. Go look for yourself. It goes back to that due process notice. One of the biggest defenses, believe me, I know. One of the biggest defenses is, I told you, I gave you a chance to say something about it, you can't complain about the outcome. So if you don't have someone who's at least got some attention to that, if there's some slight change, and as we saw at the very beginning of the workshop, AGOA has changed 4 times. That's a lot of changes. So it is critical to have someone, as you said, focused on that. They don't have to do it 24/7, but they have to keep some eye on it. And when you have
listen to people, interact. Like I said, there's definitely going to be an interaction with everyone to get updates. So
And the
it
UK
makes
market
it easy.
it's a great market. Some of the success stories that are coming out of the South African Trade Hub are smaller entities that found it easier to access the UK market first. I think I told you all about the Ethiopian footwear, where they couldn't get anyone in Ethiopia to buy their footwear. It was quality, it was handmade, it was all local content. And it wasn't until it went to Europe and America that all of a sudden, right, in the domestic market, all of a sudden people saw the true value. Unfortunately, only then did they see the true value of this footwear. People were willing to go to Europe to pay 3 times the price. It is that, but once you start spreading out, having that marketing plan, we started with a business plan, we started with an exporting plan. You don't want to get in the middle of the process and you don't have a plan. That's of no use. So you're exactly right. Having someone who does that work, as Sunny said, having someone who's a GOA resource, but also don't take on more than you can. As Zizi said, okay, I need to expand. I need to spread out this information. If you don't, it will overwhelm. It's a lot. It's a lot of information to cover. Well, I think we are at an end to our program. Unless, yes, maybe you want to do closing speeches.
Let me see the papers.
Which one is that? Talking to you now, you all are already saying what you're going to see here, and you haven't seen this. What I'm pleased to see is that you're already saying it. This is just a reference point as you go back to your very offices. And as you start training people, you're going to have a resource center to house all this material. As you all know, your books are books are now actually tailored to your particular product because of the research that you've done.
Industry and also First Bank, help us, support us on this program because the program was highly subsidized, by the Bank of Industry and First Bank. So we're also going to have the representatives of the Bank of Industry here just to make sure that they want to make sure that people actually got value, for what we've done over the past 5 days. And I think everyone knows me here right now. I don't think I think I've met just about everybody, but record purposes again, I am UFO Eric-atuanya. I'm the managing partner of Brimson Associates, and it's been my pleasure to actually have this training program go on here this week. As I indicated to you guys when we first started this, AGOA is not just a business venture for me. It's something that's very personal because I had the pleasure of working with the United States Congress, and during that time, I was most privileged to be one of the staffers that drafted the AGOA bill implemented. So for Nigeria, it's really personal for me, for being a person of Nigerian descent, to make sure AGOA is actually working in Nigeria. And pardon the the cameras, and you saw me a few minutes ago. I went crazy when I said it's an aftermath of the export credit event we had with the U.S. ambassador on June 12th at the Civic Center. The ambassador is someone who has really put herself, the United States ambassador, excuse me, my two words are American, Nigeria. So when I say the ambassador, I mean, it's the U.S. ambassador. The United States ambassador is someone who has put herself out as being a pro-business ambassador, and she actually wants to bridge that gap between Nigerian businesses and American businesses. So, of course, she sends her support in this initiative. We were supposed to do this last week, and she had actually committed to being here last week. But when we moved it to this week, schedules could not. She has delegations in town in Abuja, so she would have loved to stop by and at least also show her support. But what we've been trying to do here, again, like I said, it's really about, it's not about handing people, if I may borrow your term, we've been trying to teach people how to fish, not to hand them the fish. Because if we hand you the fish, we're not always going to have the privilege of our instructor here being around to continually hand the fish. And again, in the spirit of what the Nigerian administration has tried to do, both the current and the past administration, about even when you're doing policy initiatives and all the big privatization moves, it's been all about build, operate, transfer. Build, operate, transfer. While we're bringing the technical assistance and the capacity, substance from the United States, it's very important that that substance remains in Nigeria. So we have the privilege of having catered to you guys, has worked in this trade world for almost 2 decades, and I'm going to talk about her in a minute, but it's very important to make sure, as much as she's communicating all this, it's very important for me and for our supporters in this group, and also for each and every one of you, that all of this actually gets retained in Nigeria. Starts educating people about AGOA. I would love to see, someone like Zizi who would actually talk to the, designers, talk to the people in the textile industry about what it actually takes to, export, and not just exporting, but also maintaining a certain standard, international standard, that's going to be acceptable to different parts of the world. And what's acceptable in the US is different from what's acceptable in the UK, and what's acceptable in Paris or South Africa or things like that. So it's important that we understand those markets. Trans-Africa, we've talked about, trying to be the bridge between what's happening from a national level to the folks in Ekiti State or any of the other constituencies you have, We've also talked to, Mrs. Orakusi and the Trawlers Association of actually getting the people involved in the fisheries industries because their own concerns are really towards transportation and making sure you preserve, the foodstuffs that you're carrying over there. So there's a lot of things we're going to be doing over the next few months. This does not end here. I've talked to Jay Jumak, we've been talking about how we can strategies in order to make sure we can meet up with the 35%, local content requirements under AGOA, and what kind of products may be, marketable or make you more competitive, in the US market. And I know that Ijoma representing VAC Industries as well, we've gone through different things and even realizing that VAC Industries actually does exports, to Europe, but even though they export to Europe, there's certain requirements one must go through, especially being a natural foods, natural foods, you have to go through, USDA, FDA, all those things. And packaging is so important, when it gets to that. I don't see DD from Ariella Shea Butter in the room right now, but we've also had a lot of conversations about these things. And of course, the woman from Terra Culture, Mrs. Soya Olu, sorry, I knew it was that Olu and the Soya. And then Mrs. Soya Olu, we've had interesting conversations about them, getting, being really in exhibits and also relationships with trade shows and things like that, because that's where it's most important to them because they're not manufacturing things. And of course, last but not the least, Mr. Ige, there's so many, I think yours is a mix of different things, we're doing, but I know Bibi has had conversations and you and I have chatted a little bit just to make sure that you build a strategy that actually works for you. But the important thing, I was talking to the folks at the NEPC, everyone's going to leave this room with a unique binder, a binder that's important specifically to your own industry. What I give VAC Industries, or what I give J. Jumak or the trawlers, the fishery industry, is not going to be applicable. It's not something that you can just take out of here and share with somebody else, because what we've developed over the week is something that's very unique to you. So that's one of the most critical values, and I wanted to make sure we got out of here, because what we've developed is something that, based on the comments that have come from you, we've tried to help you pull out the information that will be most useful for you. And when we advertised this, we talked about it being like having your own one-on-one consultant. It's important to note that this does not end here. I know that the managing director of the Bank of Industry is Evelyn Okutu, and the U.S. Ambassador, Her Excellency Ms. Robin Renee Sanders, have been in conversations about providing an AGOA resource center in the Bank of Industry. There were a lot of talks about, you guys have learned, for the people that didn't know before, the West Africa Trade Hub, the South Africa Trade Hub, and there are a lot of questions about why is there not one in Nigeria? Because Nigeria has all the markets, Nigeria has more market than Ghana, things like that. But the truth in that instance was, a lot of the history was actually political, because when AGOA was passed in 2008 and the trade hubs were being advertised, Nigeria did not do their local policies. They didn't pass local laws that needed to allow things like the visa certification and all of that to be done in Nigeria. They did that 4 years later. But in that time, of course, Ghana proffered themselves as being a stable government and everything. So that's the simple reason why the trade hub is there. Everybody said yes, while Ghana may be the gateway to Africa, everybody knows Nigeria is the destination. So Nigeria being the destination, it's very important that each and every one of you can never underestimate the power of one or just a cluster of people. Each and every one of you holds the key to actually saying that AGOA can be successful in Nigeria. That's what we did in between 1996 to 2000 in the US. When AGOA was first introduced, nobody was interested in dealing with Africa. But we got a group of private sector people involved to to start working. And I remember at that time, Alhaji Dangote, who was not even as big as he was then, was actually one of the people who helped to galvanize Nigerian and African businesses to come to the World Bank Africa Day, and we did a huge lobby effort to get companies involved in AGOA. It was the private sector that moved AGOA in the US. And it's that same private sector, which is each and every one of you, that would move AGOA. So I'm sitting here, I've talked a lot, and some of it may seem very, idealistic, but if I can borrow a term from my previous boss and the former president of the US, I still believe in a place called hope. And when you hope and you have faith, a lot of things can happen. And so I appreciate every single one of you, your contribution, sitting and listening. Like I said to Mimi, when we first started this, I looked around the room. The people that are sitting are not necessarily people that have all the time in the world. So it's so important. And after I have to tell you, after the first day I was done, but it's not because I didn't think stuff hadn't been done, but I saw the people that were sitting there and I thought, oh shoot, these guys are not going to have the time to come in here again and sit through. As the days went by, I was really happy, and I just kept on thinking, okay, well, 2 days down, 3 to go, this and that, but please, thank you very much, and I hope everyone has gotten information out of this. And I'm happy to, I don't know, are there any, I know you guys have talked, you guys have spoken to Mimi, but I've also encouraged one-on-one conversations with me, or even just an open conversation now about okay, you've done that already, yeah. So please, if the organizational